Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back with another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, December 21st. We're taking our time. We really don't even have that much to do. I guess that's right. So we need to just re-roll this. 2 victories of any time, any class, and take 30 turns. I'm assuming I did all of the Tavern Brawl things. Yeah, I'm fairly certain I did. In fact, this one I had to do off screen, I think, for 3 victories, which was kind of a frustrating amount of time. So, yeah, I just need to play, and that's it. And I do have a sort of decent amount of things to talk about. I'm gonna stick with Zoo Warlock because it seems like it's kind of a winning combination, somewhat. So this might be a shorter episode because we're just going to try and burn through the news and just end it. I'm sort of planning on or thinking about doing a second stream later, maybe an hour or 2 later after this stream, maybe not. Depends if it gets too late. I'm not going to start streaming if it's 10 p.m. Or something like that. Like, not that I won't be awake, I just don't think too many people would be watching. Not that too many people are watching even now. Moving on, we have a GameIndustry.biz article. The Sunny Side Up marketing forum is Keyword's latest acquisition. Total consideration for the purchase of the Quebec based service is 5.9 Canadian dollars. 5.9 million Canadian dollars. That would be a very low sell if it was just $5.9. Couldn't even get it up to $6 for your company. Alright, well, I'm playing against Paladin. This is probably nothing that I have to worry about too much then, so I'll play this. Let's see. So this is an Inside Baseball article, basically, of just one company that doesn't really matter acquiring another company. It's a little late in the year to be acquiring companies, but whatever. It's never too late, apparently. I want to draw a card. Let's see what this does. Yeah, it does nothing. Okay, interesting. Let's see. Next we have a VR game on Steam called Star Blazer, which looks like you assemble and build your spaceships and then you fly around and fight them. Doesn't look very polished, and I don't know any reason why whatsoever that you would want to do this in VR. Like, that seems rather crazy. And yeah, all these space games just don't ever interest me at all. It's early access, requires VR, and it's discounted to $17.99. So yeah, a lot of kisses of death in that, as far as just things I'm not at all interested in playing. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has another article. Cloud Imperium secures a $46 million, that's US dollar I assume, investment in Star Citizen. So Star Citizen was the crowdfunded game, so don't be too alarmed though, they say, because the funds raised will be spent on marketing both the main game and Squadron 42 single player campaign. Are they still making that? I thought they'd given up on that. Let's see. Play that. Is there anything else in this article that needs to be said, though? Not really. I guess it's just I'm still not sure Star Citizen is going to be a finished product anytime soon or ever. So that's, I think, a somewhat valid concern. And I'm definitely not sure if Squadron 42 is anywhere close to being finished. We already talked about this in the previous recording, but GameIndustry.biz has an article, China ends its freeze on game approvals. I don't think that there's any difference in this article. Actually, I think it actually was the exact same article, because I think, I'm not certain here, I think my plugin that stops duplicate tabs from opening crashed, and so it's not working right now, which that's atypical, certainly. Or not typical. I guess maybe atypical is not the phrase I prefer to use there. Gotta keep on playing. Job done. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Singularity 5, which looks interesting. Looks like it's a fancy looking first person shooter game. It might be a VR game though, but at least it has some polish in its graphics. Maybe a little bit of dark screenshot syndrome. Yeah. Let's see if we can skip into seeing what the game actually looks like. So yeah, it still probably is just standing in one place shooting these white robot things. There's a lot of polish here. Singularity 5, $9.99. Yeah, it seems like it might be on an on-rail shooter. I'm willing to put this on the fall list just so that some of the other on-rail shooters potentially get removed from the fall list at some point here, though. I need to really think about getting rid of all VR games. Like, the problem is that some of these VR games are eventually going to remove the VR requirement, and then they might be decent games otherwise. Let's see. Loki came onto the chat and he says, "Hi, Rydo." Hey, Rydo. Hey, Loki. It's been a long time.
Your soul shall be mine.
Yeah. All the old classic fans probably getting some free time for the holidays. They can get back to watching YouTube and ignoring their family and friends, as it should be. Like, particularly the whole Christmas holiday, I always found when I was a kid particularly annoying, because you're expected to do all of these things you don't do any other time of the year. You're expected to spend a lot of time with people that you try to avoid most of your life as an angsty teenager and such. So it's just always this awkward things. Loki the Cat says, "How do you like the new Hearthstone?" It has and well, he's got 3 sentences there. How do I like the new Hearthstone? Then he says it has, and then he says haven't had a way to watch reliably. Yeah, and of course that sucks. How do I like the new Hearthstone? I kind of am happy with where I am at with Hearthstone, but I'm not sure that has much, if anything, to do with the new expansion or anything like that. I think the Rastakhan Rumble expansion cards were fine, but they really failed to change the meta deck, and that's why they had to come in and do an out of schedule nerfs to several cards. But for me, I've been using hsreplay.net through Hearthstone Deck Tracker app to see what are the best cards that I could possibly make. And by doing that, I've been able to make some much better top meta decks. So no longer am I making just decks based on my own ideas and thoughts and just having fun. So I've kind of given up on fun in exchange for playing better decks that win a little bit more. So now with the amount of time I'm spending being split between 3 different accounts, I'm getting up to rank 18, where previously I've had issues where I had 9 decks and none of them could win enough to even get up to rank 20, or it'd be a real struggle to do that. Certainly, probably for Loki in particular, I've changed a lot of what the focus and how I've been playing Hearthstone. So now I'm very specifically trying to go for video game news, and I'm looking at every single game that comes out on Steam, and that's a bigger focus now. And I've introduced the web peek function that you'll see in a second, where I can basically put the Hearthstone game in the small corner and bring up a Steam page and talk about the newest games on Steam. I'm focusing a lot on the Steam wish list. I'm focusing a lot on the Steam sale right now. So there's a lot of things I've changed there. But almost all of my accounts have nearly complete collections of classic cards. And starting with the next expansion, it really is going to be a focus to get complete collections on all of the expansions, or close to complete collections of all the cards. So I'm going to have more and more options to build decks, which is going to cause me to have a better experience. That being said, if there was a better option, I probably would consider going to it if people moved over. Artifact was an option, potentially, but it went nowhere. Although Valve has, I heard, made some major changes to Artifact also. So they're trying, but they're not doing enough, because it's still a pay-to-play game. Magic the Gathering Arena might be a consideration, but it might not. If I could find some other game that wasn't a card game that was slow enough to let me cover the news and video games that are coming out, I would probably play that instead. Hearthstone views on YouTube are certainly not going up. It's a dying niche now. Everything's Fortnite, or Roblox. One thing on YouTube to mention that is they've finally paused the live button on the trending tab. So at least for now, you cannot see like the top live channels until they can fix that. That section has always been like 100% full of like lo-fi hip-hop songs to chill by channels, things that are literally just stealing and slightly phase shifting music so it doesn't get copyrighted claimed. Also, when you live stream on YouTube, you don't immediately get copyright claimed anyway, so their systems just aren't that great, so you can just stream music. But the actual live videos, like what I'm doing now, we never had a chance of getting on that trending page because it would always be the same stream that's been going on for days, weeks, months, where people turn it on just because they want music in the background, or if it's not that, it was people rebroadcasting Fox News or Alex Jones or something like that. It's been 100% bad quality content on the live channel tag. Not that the trending page is much better in general, but that is that. Let's see. Looking back at the channel. Yeah. Loki said, I hear they will do that surprise need more often. Magic the Gathering Arena is good. So I guess what he means is he's hearing that Activision Blizzard will surprise nerfs on us more often if they need to be. Or maybe he's talking about how Artifact is kind of just responding as fast as possible to the audience. And I really don't know if I want to play Magic the Gathering. I would much prefer to play a good quality version of a Yu-Gi-Oh game than Magic the Gathering, because Magic is, like, back when I was playing Magic as a kid, the Planeswalker and all that stuff wasn't a thing as far as I recall, and it was just a lot of mana, tapping mana, playing lands, and the beauty of Hearthstone is that you just have your 10 mana here, you don't have to deal with it, you're not playing cards to gain more mana, you're not tapping it, you don't have red, blue, white, black mana styles. There's just a lot of stuff to micromanage in Magic the Gathering. And I would say Magic the Gathering kind of is a less consistent artistic style because they just have random artists draw the pictures. The pictures on the cards are very nice, but all of this being focused around World of Warcraft has kind of a consistency to it and a thematicness to it that might be missing in a Magic the Gathering game. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, look, he said I'm talking about Hearthstone. Oh, darn it. Have you not played Magic the Gathering before? It's the top CCG game. Yeah. Yeah, I played it back in Ice Age. When Ice Age came out. I just haven't played it anytime since then. And as it's kind of typical for people, and it was my experience too, that you get into Magic the Gathering because people who are quote-unquote your friends are into it, and then they take all your good cards and trade you garbage cards and trick you and manipulate you. And Magic the Gathering also is kind of a rich man's game too, because you're paying for a lot of card packs, and I certainly wasn't getting a lot of funding for that. Look, he said, yeah, it's simpler. I used to play Magic the Gathering pretty competitively back in the day, but no more. Yep. Yep. I played it since it came out in 1993. Yeah. That is a double-edged sword too when you make like Magic the Gathering Arena, is that if people who have been playing it from 1993 are on there and they're just kicking the butts of anybody new to the game, then you don't have a growing, thriving player base. Like, So if I started to play Magic the Gathering Arena and I'm just losing to people who know the strategy is way better than me, that's gonna kind of suck. And any online card game or card game needs just a constant flow. The other thing that irritated me about Magic is they're just blacklisting and phasing out cards. I had hoped in the early days of Hearthstone they wouldn't have done that. I'm fairly certain when I started playing Hearthstone they didn't say anything about cards going into Wild. There was no Wild. So they had a different promise at that point too. So we kind of got screwed in Hearthstone once they introduced Wild and decided to phase out cards. I imagine they had always planned to do that, but it seems like they weren't going to do that. Let's see. Loki said, Richmond's game, yes, totally. I understand that over the last 20 years, the prices are gone astronomically. Richmond's game. Oh. No, I'm not saying Richmond, R-I-C-H-M-O-N-D. I didn't enunciate properly, probably. I said rich man, R-I-C-H space M-A-N. But I guess it means the same in Loki's mind. Let's see. Most of the more popular card games go with the standard style rotations. Magic the Gathering as well. Loki said, Rich Man is what I meant. I was talking on the phone earlier. Oh, so the phone translated it. It was an autocorrect issue. Yeah, that makes more sense. For a second there, I thought that was a phrase that people used, and I'm like, I've never heard this phrase. You had me questioning myself. Well, your phone did. Yeah, and digital card games in particular, the price should be really cheap. Really, really cheap. You should be able to free to play it. Like, in fact, I wouldn't even be too upset if Hearthstone said, hey, if you watch these ads, we'll give you a card pack if you watch 10 minutes of ads or something. Like, that would be really, really a lot of ads to watch, but I might be willing to do something like that to get some card packs versus the constant need to do daily quests and grind bits of gold that way to open packs when there's an expansion. Another time, Windows wants to update. Why are you doing this to me, Windows 10? Let me double check that didn't screw up the stream. Nope. Alright, that's good. You probably didn't even see it. Yeah, I would say, particularly for Magic the Gathering, the idea would be for it to be a secondary entertainment aspect to push people into playing real world Magic the Gathering, where they'd be theoretically more willing to actually buy cards. So Magic the Gathering should be close to 100% free to play. The other thing about Magic Arena too is that Magic the Gathering has made several like cell phone games in previous years and not really done a great job and not supported them. Let's see. Loki said, yeah, my phone sometimes misunderstands me, haha, I'm on the PC now. Loki says, I'm surprised they haven't tried to trade card packs for ads, haha. Yeah, I would be happy with that. I would be happy if I could trade cards with people. I would be happy if I could watch ads to get card packs, because then I could just cheat it and like walk away from the screen. Like if I could get more cards and have a complete collection on my accounts, I would be a lot happier as far as just building decks and such. And then new expansions will always happen. The other thing is the fact that they have it set so you have to come every 3 days to play the game, which is not as bad as like Clash Royale, where you need to basically log in every day, but every 3 days is a little too often. I would certainly make a lot more footage on my channel if I only had to stream, say, on Mondays or Wednesdays. I probably stream on Mondays. And if I was able to just stream all day Monday, go a lot longer, and have some like 7 overlapping daily quests that I could work on, that would be much more efficient and nicer experience instead of having to come back every day. So I'll stream and play Hearthstone on Monday, and then I have to find in 24 hours some time to record a different series. And if I'm doing something that's not YouTube related, well then that day is shot. And so yeah, I've spent way too much time in the past year just playing Hearthstone when I would have preferred to have been creating more footage. And now that I'm at the end of the year and it's winter, I'm getting sick and I'm so far behind. I went as high as having like 5 different things airing every Monday through Wednesday on my channel. Now I'm getting down to like 2 or 3 different things airing on my channel, and I'm not going to be able to maintain the level of content I was creating because I've fallen behind so much.
Your magic shall not save you.
Your sword is mine.
Job done.
Let's see. Loki says, if you have any Magic the Gathering cards laying around, you should lock them up and see if any are worth anything. A lot of cards have jumped into the hundreds or more price range. Well, sadly, the story for my Magic the Gathering cards is my parents decided they were evil and took them all away and gave them all away. I did have like boxes at one point of Ice Age that were unopened, and I recently saw that they were selling for like $50 for like a box, whether that's a starter pack of Ice Age or something. But yeah, I literally have none of them and no interest in going in there. Like, yeah, my parents got suckered into that level of hysteria that was happening, that because they're called magic, that they were magic or they were devil worship or something, and I don't know why. Let's see. Loki said, I think you should be able to trade extras with others, have a choice instead of dusting. Would be nice and make the game feel more worthwhile value. Yeah, trading extras or just trading cards in general. Like, I could see a limitation that you have to have extras to trade, so you have to have at least 2 of them. They need to introduce something pretty quickly for people who have like complete golden collections, because there's really nothing you can do. People like Kriperian, like, sitting on some of his accounts with hundreds of thousands of bits of dust, and all that dust can be used for is to just craft golden versions of the new expansions. Loki said you should start a new series, comedy or challenges for games, mix-ups, things. I haven't thought about changing my style. Like, I don't know if I really wanna go that route, like, because I'm trying to be kind of a journalist and a serious video game critic. If I go in the comedy route, I think it contradicts that, and honestly I don't think I could be consistently funny. It probably would get me more views if I could do it. It's just I'm still trying to have 50% of fun while playing games, and when I play video games, I've never been the type of person who's riffing or making jokes while playing games. I'm a little bit more serious about it there. Maybe that's not good content. It's almost certainly not good content, but that I'm just trying to be true to myself in all ways. As for challenges for a game, like, games sometimes give me challenges, but I'm not a good enough player that I would want to go and set myself up with a like blindfold run of some game or something crazy like that. So just beating the game is enough a challenge for me. Let's see. Loki continues, my mom tried to take mine, actually burned some in our grill. Same reasons though paper was evil. Thought paper was evil, haha. I had to deal with that ignorance with Dungeons and Dragons too, haha, before I started Magic the Gathering. Like, yeah, I don't know. And see, I wouldn't even really say that was even something that they were specifically committed to for very long, so I don't know. It's just random people, parents being parents, you know, they don't know what they're doing. They just pretend like they do. One thing I can guarantee you is that people taking away my magic cards did not make me want to go to church anymore. or worship Jesus anymore, or anything like that. So it did not have any positive effect in the way they were hoping.
Your magic shall not save you. Your magic shall not save you.
Let's see. The thing too is so much of like what was geek and nerd culture has changed. Like, now when I think Magic the Gathering players and Dungeons and Dragons players, I think of a pretty different crowd than what I think of in the old days. In the old days, I would have thought, oh, these are geeks and nerds, these are my people. Even if I personally find Dungeons and Dragons too long and boring, or even if I don't have a amazing interest in Magic the Gathering, I still thought we were the culture. In a weird way, for all the problems that we have with identity politics nowadays, with the SJWs talking about that, geeks and nerds we invented identity politics. We totally said, we are geeks, we are nerds, we are one group, we're the ones that get bullied all the time. Now, a lot of times, it's fashionable to call yourself a geek and nerd, and a lot of times it's the geeks and nerds, or the people calling themselves that are the bullies. And what I think about as far as what people who are playing Magic the Gathering, it's probably like 35, 40-year-old men with beards and neck beards, is kind of what I think some of them are. And Dungeons and Dragons is kind of the same too. And I imagine a lot of them are cool when you get to know them, but I don't really think of them as much just a generic geek and nerd. I think of them as magic nerds or magic geeks or Dungeons and Dragons nerds and Dungeons and Dragons geeks. And even that perception I know needs to change, because we're on the cusp of it being okay in most parents' minds for really young kids, like 6, 7, 8-year-olds, to play Magic and Dungeons and Dragons. And that's really where it should have been in the first place. They were always games. I don't think Dungeons and Dragons artwork or Magic the Gathering's artwork is too risque for them to play. So it really, in the next generation, will just be like, oh, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, that's cool. That's like the cartoons I used to play when I was a kid, or I used to watch when I was a kid. But yeah, a lot of that certainly just boils down to the first 5 or 10 people you deal with in the game too. And my experience in Magic the Gathering was dealing with 5 or 10 people that all were screwing me out of the good cards and cheating me and lying about what the rules say. So I mean, I was just in with a bad, dishonest crowd on Magic. And I never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I did play Hero's Quest once, and it was just like way too long. Let's see. Loki says, said a while ago, not change your whole style, but have one series that's different. It is certainly something to think about. Like, I'd have to see if I could really do that. See if I could be different. Like, right now, the differences on my different series are different games. So every month there's a different game. Maybe that's almost certainly a problem. Like, I probably should just be like a Minecraft player that is just playing Minecraft years and years going, or a Hearthstone player that plays Hearthstone all the time. But honestly, I'm really in a bad position to make any decisions about any changes. What I need to do, and what I've already kind of committed to doing, is just building back up to having a consistent 3 or 4 series pre-scheduled and recorded earlier. And then once I have some breathing room, I would be in a much better position to start thinking about, hey, let's do something different. Like, the only thing I've done a little bit different is we've run into a couple of glitches. I'm going to put out a video of a Hearthstone glitch that I live streamed when doing the Soul Adventure for the latest expansion. The hero completely disappeared, so I'm going to edit that out into a clip. But, like, my whole channel too is, like, there's things that could be done if I had an artist, if I had time, if I had skill to edit things. What I'm doing right now is really just quantity over quality. It always has been. Just cover the game in its totality. Don't edit out anything. Don't add sound effects. Don't add music underlying it. I have found some music that I've used that is public domain, so the Steam Wishlist Cleanup series, which that's slightly different. Like, that's airing right now. That's me just looking at games on Steam, and it really goes to show how many good games are still on Steam that I want to get. But while doing that, I had the same open source music play. I need to expand that into a whole playlist of songs so it doesn't repeat over and over again. I was thinking about doing an outro video, and then I just gave up on it because I just couldn't. I'm just not skilled enough to do a good outro video. And I figured out some ways with my recording software where I could do a lot of different things so that an outro video would play automatically, and so I wouldn't have to, like, re-render and edit the video to have that play. But yeah, I just gave up on that. Yeah, I'm struggling particularly to just keep the channel going, particularly since this entire year I've just not made any money from advertisement because I was kicked out of the YouTube Partner Program because I didn't have 1,000 subscribers, and I was very slow to make a Patreon, and that's only like a month old and nobody's supporting that. So like for many months this year I was not even trying to make any money, in just some crazy hopes that I could get 700 plus subscribers, which didn't happen. And I imagine by the time I did get 1,000 subscribers to get back into the being able to run ads, they'd move the goalpost again. Let's see. Loki said, what about the whole gamer name? Used to be a cool thing to be called the world's pasty, and no, it used to not be a cool thing. The words pasty, no sun pale, and such come to mind, huh? Yeah, gamer as an identity has been totally stolen away from what gamers were in previous generations. But also, to be fair, like, everybody's a gamer now, so it's just not like a descriptor. You at some point have to then redefine it as a hardcore gamer, and then you have to redefine what a hardcore gamer is to say, oh, you have to play at least 60 hours a week of video games to be a hardcore gamer, or at least 40 hours a week, or at least 20 hours a week. But yeah, all the fandoms got co-opted by a lot of companies pretending that they weren't companies in a lot of ways. Like Geek and Sundry is a YouTube channel that pretended like it was being launched by two legitimate nerds and fans. Turns out it was being funded by a Chinese company the whole time, and they were just trying to sell their own video series by using nerds and such. There is also just this active and intentional thing that's happening in a lot of communities and fandoms, where SJWs and people who like to play identity politics have intentionally infiltrated fandoms so that they can change it from the inside and take control, and it really sucks too. That's why over the course of the past year I've done like a complete 180 against mainstream video game medias, because it became really obvious that they are all failed journalists that don't really even like video games. And you look at these Kotaku and Polygon articles half the time that they have nothing to do with video games. They're just pushing a hyper-liberal progressive ideology that has nothing to do with the video game at all. And so yeah, and I consider myself an extremely liberal person, or at least I used to, and seeing just the lack of sense, the lack of realisticness, the lack of intellectual honesty that a lot of the mainstream video game journalists have taken is crazy. And Gamergate was something that I was not involved with, and I didn't hear about until many months after it had happened. But you know, looking into it and realizing how the journalists colluded and tried to change the narrative completely on what it was about, really has just turned me off from listening to any of them. Let's see. Loki said, you know, I found out not long ago you could get many of those Steam games free if you reach out to the author and offer to review or promote their games on your YouTube channel. One Epic Games, or was it Chair? I think it was the developer Chair of the game Shadowrun, actually did reach out to me and offer me a copy of Shadow Complex, but I had already gotten Shadow Complex for free via the launch of their Epic launcher when it first came out, before it became the Epic Store that it is now. So they were offering me a free copy of the game I already had, and the thing there is, if you're going to be an ethical journalist, and in the United States you're legally required to do this, you have to disclose things. And so I don't want to take any free games from anybody, because then it becomes a sponsored video. It just is. If you get anything of any value whatsoever, if they give you a penny, if they buy you a Coke, you then are influenced and have to disclose that you were paid in some way, maybe underpaid, for that game. And so I don't want to do that. I want to buy the games myself. Also, people can look at how many subscribers and how many views I have and pretty well tell that I'm probably not worth the value of a free game. So I think I'd get rejected by a lot of people, or ignored by a lot of people, if I went begging for games. Games are not even what I really need. Like, I have over 1,000 games on Steam. I have plenty to pick from. I have a nice big collection, library to pick from, so I can make the decision about what games I want to play and try to, if I want to follow a theme or play certain series in a row, like the Myst series. I'm going to play Myst 3. I've already played Myst 1 and Myst 2 Ribbon. So that's not the issue. The issue is just the amount of time I have, the amount of time and energy I can spend to make content, and can I turn this YouTube channel into something that pays me something? Because, you know, before I retire at the ripe old age of 72 or whatever, I'd like this YouTube channel to actually pay for my living expenses, because, you know, like, it certainly probably won't. Let's see. Look, he said most YouTubers have to go the road of sponsorship route. Even if I was going to go sponsorship, it's more ethical to be sponsored in something else that is not related. So if I was going to go sponsored, I would not go sponsored via video games. I would go sponsored via something like Audible or something like that. The other thing that probably most people don't know is a lot of these sponsorship things are just not, they actually don't pay anything. Like, there's many programs out there like Audible that don't pay anything up front, and you have to get somebody to actually sign up to Audible before you actually get any money. So it's a lot of people do that stuff in hopes of making money, and I've done it. Certainly, the Amazon.com affiliate link system, like, you can sign up for that, but you'll be rejected after like 30 days and not get any of the money that you probably deserve at that point. So yeah, I'd like to stay away from ads. I'd like to stay away from sponsorships. Ideally, whether it's through Patreon or not, I'd like a service like that where enough fans who are rich enough to support me, where if I was getting 2,000 fans to donate $2 a month, or that would be a decent living wage there, and then we could always be 100% ad free, and I wouldn't have to go in any other directions or desperation. If I'm really just looking for money, the truth is just get out of YouTube. Just stop making content and go work a job. Go flip burgers at McDonald's. You'll make more money in one day at this point. And that may have to happen at some point. Maybe I would just disappear. Maybe I could put out a video. Maybe I'd have enough content recorded early enough. Like I'm personally in a weird situation, so I'm not really needing to do that right now, but it could change at the drop of a hat. It's a growing issue for all people in the United States and probably around the world that there's fewer and fewer people with money willing to pay people to do anything. Wealth inequality is just a growing issue with the top 0.1%. Loki said, I'm not understanding why you're avoiding sponsorships. Because I don't want to disclose it. I don't want to show that I have been bought and sold by a corporation and that my influence is out there and for sale. I want to stand on my own credibility and say, this is my word, this is my opinion. This isn't a word or an opinion that was bought or by a corporation. When I say I like a game, I want people to 100% know I am saying I like that game because I like that game. I'm not saying it because I have some business relationship or I've been paid to say I like that. That's the problem with mainstream video game media, is you never, once you look into it and you realize it, you never know if any of the games that they're recommending or saying are as good as what they say that they are, or if they're just trying to be really nice because they don't want to ruin their relationship with that game developer and that publisher. That's why so many mainstream video game reviewers never give a review below a 7 or a 7.5, is that it's just not acceptable at all. A few years back, somebody gave a bad review at IGN, and that person got fired because of it. So his opinion wasn't valid. He got fired because IGN had a sponsorship deal with that game company, whatever company that was. So I just want to make it always apparent and clear, and I want to stick and be consistent to that, that my opinion is just not available for sale. But yeah, sponsorships, even though people do them a lot, they aren't really great. Not until you are a big time streamer. Like, I'm sure PewDiePie, if he did a sponsorship deal, is getting $10,000 to $40,000 a video for that. But small time people, you're not getting anything at all. I'm not even exaggerating. There are a lot of reasons, but yeah.
In the light's name.
It's playtime.
Let's see. I specifically have to disclose or try to disclose games that I just get for free when somebody tweets out a Steam code, or when like the Humble Bundle store gives away a game for free. Even that is something you want to disclose to maintain your credibility, because you want people to know, oh, I didn't actually pay for this game, so I'm not going to be as off-put by the fact that the game isn't that good. Like, if I paid $100 for a game that lasts 5 minutes, I'm going to be a lot more pissed about it than if I got a game for free that was 5 minutes.
So many options.
Loki says, sponsorship isn't about selling what they want you to say. You say what you want, be honest. People will understand. You don't have to say what they want. If they try to make you, then that's a red flag. They're not to work with them. The thing is starting out small. You gotta jump through hoops to grow. No. I guess we'll have to just resolve to say my understanding of how it really goes in the real world with sponsorships and your understanding of how you think sponsorships go, or maybe your actual experience of how you've dealt with sponsorships are just different. I am staunchly against the idea of taking sponsorships. I've thought about it quite a lot. It's not a path I'm willing to go down. Not at that level, anyways. Like, I might accept a sponsorship for something not video game related. Like, if I was selling Wendy's, I'd be okay with that. But if it has anything that has anything connection to video games and the same industry that I'm criticizing, I'm not willing to even raise the air or appearance of impropriety on that. I guess now, since we're done with this, we need to just keep on playing Zoo Warlock. At this point too, I have so much news. Loki, I'm gonna ignore the chat for a little bit and try to wrap up the news so we can wrap up this video. We still have a lot of games to cover and a lot of news. And so, while we're having a one-on-one conversation, and that's great, like, I have a lot of tabs I need to get through. So moving to that, we have a Gamma Sutra article. There are still a few websites I still follow for news. Gamma Sutra is a collection of blog posts by mostly industry insiders in the video game industry, so it is certainly a little biased, but sometimes their articles are worth mentioning. Gamma Sutra has an article: the FBI removes the top offending DDoS for hire sites. That's dedicated denial of service attacks. So they've taken action against 15 domains that reportedly help take down other people's websites. That's generally a good idea. Like, I don't think I could ever be behind the concept of supporting DDoS attacking. It's anti-free speech, and I'm pro-free speech, so, like, yeah. People should be able to run their own website and publish whatever they want to publish on it within reasonable laws. Let's see. A couple of these. Do that. Next, we have a game on Steam called Minotaur Arcade Volume 1, which seems like it's a 3D collection of Galaga games spun around. It says it's VR, but I don't... Yeah, it is Oculus Rift VR. Interesting. I don't really know what VR adds to an old arcade game like this. It does look slightly cool, but it doesn't look amazingly different or good. It kind of looks like a mess, and it really looks like you're just going to be looking at something which is the equivalent of a flat screen monitor or a TV monitor. Let's see. There seems like there's several variants of slightly different games. Yeah, this just doesn't have enough polish to justify $12.99. I guess it doesn't require VR because it's not saying it requires VR, but yeah, I don't think that's good enough to make it to the follow list, let alone make it from the follow list to the wish list. Keep on.
Taste the light. Taste the light.
Next we have a game called Cologridization, which looks pretty awful, colorful background, pretty awful tile set things. I don't know if this is a tower defense game or some kind of strategy. Pretty bad thumbnail too. Discounted for $3.39. Yep. Nothing appealing in that one. Most games on Steam, they come out for Steam, still pretty bad. That will almost certainly always be the case unless they start curating quality. Next we have a game on Steam called Soccer Versus, which looks like it might have some soccer in it, but the video is just focused on changing 3 aspects of some ugly looking characters. Yeah, discounted to 74 cents. You can see this is a pretty low quality game too. Yeah, it's gonna be a mall. That's
Your magic shall
we
not
can just
save
burn through all these games as quickly as possible. That'd probably be the best move. Meanwhile, maintaining a streak if we can. Next we have a game on Steam called Block Fuse, which says it's a simulation. It looks like a dominoes game where you're trying to knock things over. Yeah, this looks like this is just a very basic asset flip of some physics code trying to be sold as a game. Like, I don't see a gameplay mechanic here. Yeah, it's basically just a throw a ball and try and knock down this physics object. Discounted for $1.49. Yeah. There's a lot better versions of that that have been on Steam already. Next we have Hill Racing, which they are certainly getting crazy with the silhouettes at this point, where they don't want to bother to animate color or texture or anything, so let's just set it in the silhouette. This is, I guess, technically not a one-screen Unity game because the screen actually scrolls, but otherwise it looks like a very basic, very ugly game. It doesn't seem like anything changes graphically. Discounted for 74 cents. Again, not really sure why they're bothering to put this stuff out right in the middle of the sale, the winter sale, where it will just immediately be forgotten. Next we have Jump and Shoot. This is another of the very low effort games from, is that Denon Games or Devon Games? Like, we've seen 3 games released in the past couple days by this developer, and they're all look somewhat similar to this. Very simplistic. Discounted for 74 cents. I imagine he's going to come out with a bundle at some point and try and convince people to buy the bundle. And maybe Steam has finally clamped down on achievements, because I'm not sure that new games are getting achievements like they used to. Let's see. Let's see. Next we have a game called Pogo, which this concept, if done with a lot more polish, might be an interesting idea. But probably not. I don't know. It's kind of like a co-op game. I might be interested in playing a game where you play on a pogo stick for a brief second or two. Like, if this was Super Mario Odyssey and there was a level where you had to play on a pogo stick, or some races you had to do on pogo sticks, I'd get that. But there would definitely need to be a lot more gameplay, and this would need to just be like a side a gameplay mechanic, not the entirety of the gameplay mechanic. This one's undiscounted at $4.99. And again, this is just asset flips, like,
So
for the most part.
many possibilities.
Alright, do this, do this, do this, do this. I'm still trying to win here, and there's a good chance I won't. Gamer Sutra has an article. The Walking Dead's games final season is releasing exclusively on the Epic Games Store. So I've been mentioning this and hearing about this, but I wanted to, maybe they can give us whether it's a timed exclusive or not. They probably won't say. Skybound Games and Epic Games have partnered to bring Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season, on PC exclusively to the Epic Games Store for all future purchases. Starting today, the remainder chapters of Telltale's episodic series are available through the Epic Games Store, which I don't really need to go on a rant about how I don't like the Epic Games Store, and I definitely don't like the exclusivity that's being introduced here because of it.
Again!
The news comes after Skybound reached a deal with Telltale back in October to finish development of the remaining episodes. The studio resumed work on the final season last month, with most of the original Telltale development team rejoining the project. As detailed in a press release, players who purchased a season pass of The Walking Dead the final season on a different PC platform will still receive the final 2 episodes through the previous point of purchase. So I totally screwed up there, because now, unless I can find it on like a Steam key trading site, I don't see a way in which I'm going to get The Walking Dead the final season on my Steam account, and all games need to be on that Steam account just to keep things nice and tidy. Let's see. It's likely that the exclusivity deal is not motivated solely by sales of the game, as the press release seems to suggest that Epic helped fund development of the last 2 episodes of The Walking Dead. Quote, Epic stepped up to the plate immediately to work with us in order to bring the original team back together and ensure fans will receive the complete season of Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season, said the president of Interactive, Dan Murray, and Skybound Games CEO Ian Howie in a joint statement. The 3rd episode, titled Broken Toys, will be released January 15th, 2019. This will be the first real test of the Epic storefront. And yes, I know I broke my streak, but I'm trying to get through all the news, so
We have turned our curse into our
moving on to the next article. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Apple may soon enable gifting for in-app purchases. Updated guidelines allow developers to let users buy virtual items and currency for each other. That might be a good thing, because then that might be a way to stop kids from getting microtransactions purchased as easily. But I don't use an Apple product, and I thought that the system was pretty good if you put a lock or a password on it, where you have to type in a PIN or a password on the Apple phone before you can make the purchase. It's probably better than Google, and I use Google, and I think Google in general is better, but I think being kid-friendly, Apple might be a little bit better in that instance. So I don't know how this really would change things too much if this happens. In the end, the in-app purchases are like 100% always focused around kids, because it's kids that are doing most of the purchases, whether the app developers want to admit it or not. And there's just like a lot of games targeting kids and manipulating them into gambling or wasting money, and I'd like to see all of that stopped by Apple if they can, and Google. And frankly, even in-app purchases for games for adults still suck most of the time. You could almost make an argument that AAA games deserve to have microtransactions in them more, because at least in that instance they've made a decent game in the first place. They made a AAA game and then they added microtransactions, versus so many mobile phone games that are terrible and full of microtransactions. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Polybius. Polybius, I believe, is the name of like a rumored game. So a lot of people make their own games and call them Polybius. It's like a rumored demonic game that kids used to tell each other. I think there might actually have been a game called Polybius at some point too. This is definitely not it. I don't know if it inherently is bad though. $17.99. Now this is kind of a unique art style, so I'm having a hard time judging it. So I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to put it on the follow list and see what the reviewers say and see if people like it or not. Or if nobody ever plays it, which is also a big possibility. Let's see. So silence this. We'll go and do this, and we'll end that. Gamasutra has an article. Get a job. Velen Studios is hiring a producer. So if you want to work out of Troy, New York for Velen Studios, that's a job listing that's available. Let's see. Taunt.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on?
Toss. And attack. Draw a card, I guess. Next we have a game on Steam called 103, which looks like one of these horror games. It's tagged Adventure Casual. Interesting. See, it looks like a horror game, although that art style doesn't inherently tell me that it is. I would say the darkness does. It's not tagged horror, but if this is not horror, I don't know why this game is so dark. Like, this has to take a dark twist at some point. Yeah, you can see a character banging their head against the wall. I like this. I like this art style. It's different, it's unique, it's crazy. I love crazy horror things. This is not the kind of game where you're probably expected to really rely much on jump scares. It's $9.99. It's just called 103. I'll put this on the fall list and we'll see if other people are willing to play it. I'm still not really sure how to cover all the many horror games that are available. There's way more than a year's worth of horror game coming out every year. Let's see. We already talked about this article. GameIndustry.biz. Sunny Side Up marketing firm is Keyword's latest acquisition. Already covered that Inside Baseball article anyways. Gamasutra has an article. Microsoft is pausing its Xbox One financing program at the end of the year. I'd forgotten this had even existed. That you could finance an Xbox One if you went, I think, to the Microsoft store to do it. Like, there was some hoops you definitely had to jump through. to get it to happen.
Face the light.
I just lost again. It was launched in August. Xbox All Access bundle, bundled to get an Xbox One console, Xbox Live, and Xbox Games Pass for either $21.99 or $35.99 a month. The difference would be whether you qualified for an Xbox One S or an Xbox One X. Like, the idea was slightly intriguing, I thought, just having a getting an Xbox for paying less per month. But it really didn't make a lot of sense, because it's not like most kids are getting a monthly allowance of over $21.99 a month. So, and if parents are having to finance an Xbox, they probably shouldn't. They probably can't afford an Xbox in the first place. It was an intriguing idea, but clearly it didn't garner a lot of attention.
Your soul shall be mine.
And I don't see why Microsoft in particular would want to get into the financing and financial services business. That's a mess. Moving on, as we try to rush through here, we have a game called Area 4643, which is either a twin-stick shooter. Yeah, it's a twin-stick shooter on platforms, which is slightly interesting. But I am not really a big fan of twin-stick shooters, and just all the garbage on the screen that comes with them. And there's just a little bit pixeliness. So many games are pixely still. Doesn't look polished enough to interest me. It's not discounted at $10.99 for Area 4643. Let's play this. Play this. Play this. So yeah, that one's not moving forward. Next we have Mysteries of Neverville, the Runestone Light. This is a hidden object game if I ever saw it. They've stopped labeling them as adventures or point-and-click adventures or hidden object games. They're trying to get away from any label whatsoever because so many people have burned out on it. To be fair, this is discounted to $4.24, whereas if this was being published by Big Fish Games, it would have been a collector's edition for $12.39. Here you can see a hidden object scene section. That,
so
like, here you go. Hidden object section. Yeah, I don't think I'll be playing any more hidden object games, so I don't really see a reason to continue to put these on my wish list. I tried to play them, nobody was really interested in them, I wasn't really interested in covering them. So we live, we learn, we move on. Gamma Sutra has the same article. iOS App Store Guidelines Update hints at giftable in-app purchases. Let's see. This. And this. Next we have a game on Steam called Monster Hentai, which doesn't seem like it has anything whatsoever to do with hentai. It is tagged with nudity, but this looks like the most low-effort piece of garbage game I've seen in a while. Although, to be fair, the art style on these cutout characters seems like it's something, but when you have a low-effort name like this, then you know what you're gonna get. This is discounted for 79 cents. I don't know why these games get allowed on Steam, because clearly they're troll games. That's all they are. They're just people picking random keywords and trying to sell on the keywords. Let's play that. That should let me play this.
It's playtime.
And what do I want to do? I'm just going to end the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Muzzleload, which again looks like a horribly animated platforming shooter game. Looks like something you would do in the first or second year of video game programming class, not somebody who's actually a professional or graduated student. 15% off for $3.39 for MS Paint looking graphics. Although this alligator is drawn somewhat nicely, to be fair.
Now how about...
It just doesn't look like anything else that's available. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna have to go back into my rant. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Necromancy Emily's Escape. It is tagged nudity, sexual content. Now this is a anime game with anime girls, but they are not in schoolgirl outfits, so Steam or the rogue employee in Steam, we still have yet to really figure that out, has not been able to bend over backwards to ban this under claiming because they're in a schoolgirl outfit, even if they're maybe just cosplaying a schoolgirl outfit, they're actually a child, therefore it's exploitation of a child. Now this isn't looking like it's an amazingly great game or anything, and it's not a visual novel, it's an adventure game platform, which seems to give it different credibility. And also it's discounted for $12.74, and it is a Japanese full audio game, so I assume it is a Japanese game. So it's taken us months to figure out how the system is being manipulated. I took too long there to realize it was the fact that they were in schoolgirl outfits, that they were using that as an excuse to ban games. This slippery slope is going to continue to happen though, and I guarantee you games like Necromancy Emily's Escape, which looks like it is mostly just a platforming escape game, games like this are going to start getting banned from Steam too. We've yet to see anything retroactively removed, but that is going to be the next thing. Whoever is running the approvals process is clearly intent on censoring Steam and removing all Japanese anime looking characters, which is a lot of them. That's pretty much all Japanese games in a nutshell. This next game though I'm afraid to show you, so I'll just talk about it. It's called Hentai Hexa Puzzle, which is a hex puzzle game. So there are pieces in a hex grid, hexagonal pieces in a bigger hex grid, and you have to place the pieces in the right order, kind of like Tetris, to fit them. The problem, and why I can't show it, is because while you're doing this simplistic puzzle game, the background are just a bunch of anime characters in states of undress. A lot of times in these games it feels like they probably didn't even license or buy the rights to these pictures, they just went online and found them for these low effort games. Hentai Hexa Puzzle is discounted for 59 cents, and yeah, it's not a good game. And of course this game gets approved though, because as long as none of the characters are in the Navy Japanese style outfit, schoolgirl outfits that I believe are worn, I'm not sure if they're worn throughout college too, but they definitely are worn throughout high school. So the characters could easily be 18 years old, although they're cartoons, so what does it matter what age you say they are? They're still cartoon, nobody's getting hurt, nobody's getting exploited. In the first place. So yeah, that's where we've resolved on Steam until they come out and make an announcement, which I'm hoping after the winter sale they'll come back and say what their new policy is and be consistent on it. This is a problem with YouTube too, is that YouTube changes the rules and things that were acceptable a year ago are not acceptable now, so your video that you put out a year ago is now violating the terms of service. It's just a nightmare and an unfair playing field and just anti-competitive in general. We hit a bit of a losing streak. Let's see, should I stick with Zoo Warlock or should we let's move over to Hunter and spice it up a little bit. Still got a lot of games here. We got a game on Steam called Jump Up. The problem with games like these is they're somewhat pretty, but they could just be asset flips, and they could not really be much of a game. Let's see if we can get to the point. They're parkour style games a lot of times. It's discounted to $7.49. I guess this game looks good enough that it deserves a chance, so I'll put it on the follow list. I don't believe this is a VR game or anything like that, so yeah. I'll put it on the list and we'll see. There's been a lot of these though where you run gun parkour, and a lot of them turn out to be pretty disappointing. I guess we're playing Secret Hunter with this deck. Let's see, next we have a game on Steam called Checkmate Battle Arenas. This is a multiplayer game, and it looks like a turn-based positioning multiplayer game, kind of like XCOM. Seems like it might be a little bit faster than that. It's early access, free to play, and it's multiplayer MMO with in-app purchases, which means I won't be covering it because it's free to play and you can check it out yourself, and because it's a multiplayer only game, and I don't cover multiplayer only games. Let's go ahead and play that. Doesn't look like a terrible game. Here we have an interesting game, Trains Railroad Simulator 2019, Trains with a Z. Now there is a game, Train Simulator 2019, that I covered, and it was extremely expensive with like $1,000 worth of DLC. This seems like this is an attempt to be a direct ripoff of that game that is somewhat popular. So yeah, this kind of feels like somebody literally has just stolen the art and the assets, and they're trying to just infringe on trademarks and infringe on copyright, which is not a thing that really happens much in video games. You don't have people literally trying to confuse the marketplace, but that's exactly what this is. So I'm not going to put it on the follow list or anything. That will almost certainly get taken down from Steam. Yeah, you really don't have to talk about confusing the marketplace and copyright very much in games, but that's certainly one of them, those instances where you need to. Next we have a game called Hypergate, which looks like another space game, space sim, and a lot of dark screenshots. It's always so dark in space. Again, just not the game for me. $11.99. Really don't even have to look at games like that too much, because it's I'm just not gonna ever be interested in playing a space game, I don't think. See, next we have a game on Steam called The Blame, which says it's a 2D puzzle game. It's written in Russian. English language not supported. Alright, well, just because it's Russian doesn't inherently mean it's a Russian troll game, although a lot of them are. This actually looks like it's a pretty decent effort. It's not polished really enough to be on Steam, but if this was a cell phone game, I'd be cool with it. Unfortunately, it's English not supported, so it's not making it to the list. But, you know, at some point they might re-release it and put English into it, and I'd be willing to consider it at that point. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Olia's Descent, which has an interesting thumbnail and then shows me these particularly boring looking pixel graphic characters. What does this game really look like? Yeah, it's a dungeon crawler. A generically animated dungeon crawler. Yeah, you get a lot of that where somebody spends a lot of time hiring an artist to make a thumbnail and then they don't pay the same artist to make the art assets for the rest of the game. The RPG Maker tag seems to have been removed at this point. I have not seen anything tagged RPG Maker in a long time.
Job's done.
Olia's Descent is discounted for $3.99. I have no interest in playing it. Next we have a game called Elect V Lab, which looks like it's some kind of educational electronics game. It's not supporting VR or anything. Not that you would need that. This is one of those games that might actually be educational software, but it also is probably really bad too. So it fails. Like I have an education in electronics, so I kind of understand most of this, or almost all of it. It kind of fails in the idea of being a game. Like this seems 100% educational and ugly. So like not fun and ugly is a bad combination when trying to sell a game on Steam or a software on Steam. It's discounted for $8.79, which is a decent price. Of course, digital stuff in electronics too can be a lot easier to simulate than analog electronics, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are somewhat limited scenarios that are presented to you, or some inaccurate interactions that occur if you try to get too wild and crazy about it. There's probably an industry-side simulator software that would be a lot better to teach kids to use than this, and I know that there's at least a couple open source and some cell phone Google Play Store apps that are probably better than Elect V Lab. So there's a lot of options there. Next we have a game called Toy Shot VR, which requires VR. Seems like you're shooting toys. So many standing in one place shooting games. Why would I want to stand in one place and shoot toys though? Just because you're getting attacked by them, I guess? It's not even a video here, and I thought you were required to put a video nowadays. This is $7.99. High premium for any VR game, certainly. Still, I don't think Toy Shot VR deserves to make it to the fall list. It's better stand in one place, shoot games. Let's see. Well, let's do this. Give me more spells.
I hunt alone.
Next we have a game called Muttland. This is just a like Roblox asset flip game. We've seen so many of these. Terrible user AI interface. Just so many of these Roblox Minecraft clones discounted for $6.39.
Reporting for duty.
Yep. To be fair, I haven't seen anybody actually bother to try and make a game like this, or at least Steam hasn't allowed any games like this on their storefront in a very long time. It's been at least 4 or 5 months. So yeah, I don't know what happened there. If they were actively stopping games from getting on their storefront, or if people just realized that these games weren't selling and they weren't worth the effort. Let's see. Next we have a TechRaptor article. The Walking Dead final season exclusive to Epic Games Store on PC. This is the same article as we'd already talked about. Let's see. Oh, and we already covered this game. So I don't need to talk about it. I may just have a bunch of duplicate tabs here. Yes, I do. Alright. Because my duplicate tab plugin crashed. That's gonna save me some time. Let's see. Can't play anything else. Next we have a game on Steam called Parker and Lane Twisted Minds, which seems like it would be an adventure, like murder mystery criminal investigator story, but honestly it looks like it's Cook Serve Delicious, just in a different format. And it does fall into that category of these cheap games where you're doing somebody's job and it's just not something that I'd ever really want to play. Discounted to $9.74. Pretty expensive. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like you're just bringing items to other investigators for the puzzles. Alright. Start with this. And then do this. And then do this. And what do we want to do? Here. And then end the turn. I don't want to hit this guy because I'll just give him health if I did that. Let's see, this game Jump Up we already talked about. 103 we already talked about. Polybius we already talked about. Singularity 5 we already talked about. Oh man, I'm just going the wrong direction, am I not? Oops. Alright, well, how am I gonna do that? Then that. And
this dungeon reeks of magic.
that.
Delightful.
Just closed all the games. Things are just not working the way I'm used to them working. Alright. Let's just see how this works. Discover secret. Freezing trap. That'll be interesting. Do this. Ooh, do that. Alright. End the turn. Gamatsu has an article. Catherine Classic has been rated in Australia, so the original Catherine might be coming to modern platforms. Now, I don't know why you would need the original version to come out because Catherine Full Body, a new version of the original Catherine that adds a third heroine in the story to the story plus various other features, is coming out for the PS4 and PS Vita February 14th in Japan. Atlas, the article continues, Atlas has not announced any plans to bring back the original game. Let's see. Can we do this? And then do this.
Job's done.
I think I can play this next turn and we'll just see what happens. Yeah, I'm not sure why you would want Catherine Classic, but maybe it's just a re-release in case somebody wants the original version. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Atari H1 financials show continued growth driven by Roller Coaster Tycoon IP. This is a little inside baseball. Let's see. Apparently the company was buoyed by the sales to THQ Nordic and Atari VCS pre-orders, whatever that is. Alright, let's do this.
Here comes the big axe.
I've cast a bunch of spells. So this is not working as well as I would like it to, but this should work. Well, that didn't run terribly. Let's see, we've got a game on Steam called Crash Wheels, which is just kind of an open playground sandbox of a racing game, discounted for 49 cents. Yeah, that's not making it to the list. All my tabs are in a nightmare scenario right now. We've got a game called Neo Geometry, which is a simplistic geometry, flip the object into the whole puzzle game. You know, I might put this on the fall list just to see if maybe it actually is good. I doubt it is though. Like, I haven't seen a game that actually is like that is good, so the idea of finding one puzzle game using that logic, that 3D geometry, would be cool. Let's see, next we have a game called Throne Quest, which is just a RPG dungeon crawler twin stick shooter game for $3.99. Let's see. About that. Already talked about that one. Talked about that one.
This gonna hurt.
Alright. Do this. Do this. Do this. Let's see. Do I have enough to do this right now? I think I do. There we go. 4. 4. Get through that. Get that. And that. And then return. So we have a game on Steam called Industrial VR Hoover Dam, which looks like it's a VR game somewhat built around looking at the Hoover Dam. This falls a little too much into educational. It's $9.99. Yeah. I don't think I would want this. Like, it's just not enough of a game, it looks like. It might be interesting if I had a class I was teaching, I might buy something like that, but not that. Next we have a game on Steam called No More Pop Music Annihilation, which looks like it's a slowed down
Put your faith in the light.
platformer using sheet music, and that looks like a terrible gameplay mechanic, and this actually looks pretty awful to look at. It has some kind of filter over the screen. Yeah, early access for $14.98 is way too expensive. Sorry, this one doesn't even make it to the wish list. Like, it's just too ugly looking to start off with. Good, maybe we can turn this around and start getting some victories. Gamatsu has an article, Langreaser 1 and 2 delayed to April 18th in Japan. Let's see. It was previously going to come out February 7th on the PlayStation 4 and Switch. Let's see. The publisher also announced they are evaluating the release of a demo for the remake collection. Langreaser is a JRPG of some sort from the tags I'm looking at. Apparently no talk of a Western release. I'm pretty sure the Langreaser series will eventually come to the West.
None will survive.
Next we have a game on Steam called Escape from Planet, which looks like it's got dinosaurs and some asset flips and shooting. Early access, $20.99 discounted. This doesn't look polished enough to justify being on the wish list, though, so I'm gonna remove it. Right. We already talked about that. Let's see, we have a game on Steam called A Front Too Far Normandy, which is discounted to $5.94.
Nothing.
I don't think this is good enough. Also, I don't really have a love for World War games, so yeah, this doesn't look polished enough to justify it. I might be willing at some point to play one like Normandy Beach focused World War I, World War II game, but it would have to be really good, and it probably would be a Battlefield or a Battlefront game, whichever one is the one that's not the Star Wars game. Next we have a game called After Hours, which looks like it's a simulation puzzle adventure game exploring a computer. This is one of those games that we need to wait and see if it actually is good. It's not discounted, it's $9.99. I'll put this on the follow list. I suspect heavily it actually isn't that good, but it could be. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Psyshift, which looks like it's a marble rolling racing game of some sort. Looks slightly interesting as an idea, but
Glory to the Sindori.
This doesn't really look like the kind of Marble Madness style game that I'd want to play. I'm not sure I'd actually ever want to play a Marble Madness style game. Early access discounted to $4.49. I don't think that needs to be on the list. So many freaking games. So many games. Let's see.
Job done.
Let's see. Next we have a text-based game called The Tower Behind the Moon. I still don't want to play any text-based game. That would just be terrible content for YouTube. And frankly, I don't want to read that much. Discounted for $4.89. I still feel like if you want to read, just read. Don't justify your reading by playing a video game around it.
I hunt alone.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam just called Tanks. And yeah. It's a kind of cell phone looking tank game of some sort. Color me unimpressed. Discounted to 74 cents. Price alone pretty well explains the level of quality of a lot of these games. Hit this. Then end the turn. Like if you see something. Well, I feel like the prices of games have kind of gone up, but if you see something that's like coming out brand new for 74 cents, you know it's not particularly a great experience. Probably. Next we have a game on Steam called Crashy Racing, which again just probably pre-bought Unity assets for an infinite driving racing game. I haven't seen a lot of games like this, but yeah, this doesn't look interesting either. Discounted again for 75 cents. 74 cents. How did they destroy my weapon? And earlier this week too, there was just nothing at all out that was new, and now we've just run into a really long list of games. Next we have a game called Gunny Clock, which looks like some kind of puzzle game, single screen Unity puzzle game. I'll put this on the fall list because I don't understand what the game actually is. This might be interesting, it might not. Let's see. So I'm willing to give it a try and wait till what people will say about it. Let's see. Next we have a game called Alien Bubble Destroyer, which I'm not willing to give a try. Very basic looking game that seems like you don't do anything other than shoot upward towards allegedly bubbles. I don't even see the bubbles. This is that same developer who is flooding Steam right now. Some of the other publishers that have been flooding Steam over the past few months seem to have kind of disappeared, but here comes a new challenger, certainly. That same publisher now has this game Infinite Fall, where it looks like you're just always infinitely falling. Discounted to 74 cents again. That probably explains why there's so many games I'm looking at. Is literally because there's one or two publishers flooding Steam. I don't even know why you'd be doing that right now. Let's see. This.
The eternal hunt has begun.
And we'll kill that.
Job done.
Gamatsu has an article. Sonic Mania Adventure Part 6 Holiday Special is now available. I did not realize that Sonic Mania was releasing more parts. Is this a game? Oh yeah, they're saying Sega has released a surprise 6th episode for the holidays. Like, no, this isn't even a video game. This is an anime of Sonic Mania Adventures. I thought there was a game called Sonic Mania Adventures. There's too many Sonic games. It's impossible to keep up with them. Alright. Well, we can't do that now. So we'll do that. We'll do this. We want cheap. And we want somewhat cheap. It's still going to be too expensive. Yeah, that's what I figured.
Easy target.
What are we going to lose here? We've got a game on Steam called Rebel Forces. This is just an asset flip first-person shooter game. You can tell by a simple glance. It's free too, so if you want to check it out, you can. No in-app purchases or anything. Alright, what can we do? Let me just, at this point, skip some of these games and we'll save them for Monday. Because this is just going along. And let me just skip to, like, I can close this one that's not in English, for instance. Let me just skip to the news, and so we can cover that. And we really don't need to talk about a visual novel called Flowerless Quartet Seasons, launching March 7th in Japan, because that probably doesn't mean anything. GameIndustry.biz has a news article here. Define Human Studios closes down as it takes Islands of Nine, N-Y-N-E, free to play. Quote, all adventures come to an end, and for us that time has come a little earlier than what we've liked, says the studio. So this game, Islands of Nine, I remember them trying to push it and make it be successful, but it really wasn't working. It's a first-person battle royale title, so with a $50,000 Kickstarter from 2016. Not really surprising that Kickstarter developer would make a game and then support it for a very brief amount of time, and then give up on it pretty quickly. And so many games. So freaking many games. I have like 30 or 40 here. I don't think too many of these are even duplicates, so I don't think that's the issue. One of the things that I think is worth mentioning is at least a couple of the games on my follow list have since been removed from Steam, so even a couple games that I thought were good got flagged as troll games or got removed for some other reason. As we're going through this, just looking at all of these. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article. Command & Conquer Remastered Community Council seeks to keep the game on track. That's a mouthful. Command & Conquer Remastered, probably a comma there. Community Council, comma, seeks to keep the game on track. Let's see. They've announced, this council has been announced by Electronic Arts. The newly formed organization will be working as an intermediary between the developers and the community in order to make the best Command & Conquer games possible. I don't know why EA feels the need to make a council for that. Can they not do their own interaction and communication? Maybe they can't. The community council has 5 people named on here. One called CC Hyper, from an original developer from CNC Net. One called Tore, T-O-R-E, the co-founder of CNC Net. One called Pachot, P-C-H-O-T, one of the core OpenRA maintainers. One called 5 Aces, an OpenRA shoutcaster. And one called Biker Shows, Biker Shows, or Biker U-Shows, a top tournament player for CNC, and Grey Goo, Twitch streamer and YouTuber. So they've got like 5 people that are deep into the esports Red Alert community being part of that council. Maybe that makes sense. Let's see. In these games. Alright. So there's a ton of games that I did not cover. But I do want to just kind of quickly look down my Twitter feed and see if anything's happening this Friday. I don't know why. Why would there be anything happening on the Friday before the week of Christmas? Video game related. Yeah. I may have to go through some of these games and just do a pass without actually covering all of them. I've had to do that a couple times. Apparently Psychonauts is heading into Alpha 2. Psychonauts 2 is heading into Alpha. So, oh my goodness, Psychonauts 2 hasn't even been in Alpha yet? That's ridiculous. Gamma Sutra has an article, Discord raises another 150 million after opening its own game store. An hour ago, Hearthstone episode 1114 aired on my channel. Those numbers are getting ridiculously high. More games are coming out on Steam. Certainly. Zynga to acquire Empires and Puzzles developer Small Giant for an initial $560 million. Let's see. What else? That is quite a lot of news actually. But I think that's it. Alright. So let me just quickly look at the chat. If anybody commented, I've been ignoring it, trying to catch up. Let's see. Alright. At 5:51, I just said I was going to start ignoring the chat. Loki said, fair enough, gotta stay true to yourself. Only reason I say is if I've done a lot of research in sponsorships. Oh, so that was just a response to sponsorships. I'm going to log into Hearthstone. You want to play me so I can do quests? Don't have to talk about it. And then he goes, hey, at 6:22, hey, and hey, and I didn't see any of that. Sorry, Loki, but had a lot of games and didn't even finish it. And yeah, the stream is going long, and this new 2-hour per episode idea is certainly something that I'm still working with. The problem with doing 2-hour episodes is you really don't want to do a third 2-hour episode. Anyways, that's going to be it for this stream. We long since have finished all the daily quests. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. When you subscribe, click the notification bell, please. If you want a friend or follow me on things like Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can either friend me on Steam and gift me a game. The Steam Winter Sale is going on right now. Or you can support me via Patreon on a monthly basis. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.